A very good evening to everyone, and welcome to the Booknerds Author Agency podcast. So, today we are here with another powerful episode, and I'm your host for today. I'm Rashmi Wahule, a self leadership coach, a soft skills trainer, and an image management expert. And today with me is Marut Bhardwaj, an exemplary person in the field of leadership. And what more do I say about you, Marut? Today is special. We are celebrating your book, which doesn't just talk about leadership, it busts so many myths and it strips it down to the raw, honest truth. So, welcome to you on the show. I am so glad to have you here. And a personal thank you for your book being so simplistic, written in such a manner that I could have such a stress free read. On a lighter note, it's been very difficult for me of late to read a book end to end, but your book I could because of those little nuggets that you've given after every chapter, making the chapter so precise to the point and so interesting because they're like so reflective as well. And you just get into a spiral of thinking, going back down the line, doing reality checks for yourself. So this is a must-have book, and you can see how many sticky notes are already put out there. So this book is something which I'm going to treasure for a long, long time. So yes, over to you. What would you like to tell your audience today?
Thank you very much, Rashmi. And I am really happy that you said that it's a simple book. That's one of the hardest things to do. And in our work as facilitators and coach, we often see how people are struggling to manage the onslaught of information that they need to deal with.
Too
So that is
much.
one of the reasons that it has become so much harder than ever before to read and absorb. It's a concentration issue, actually, more than anything else. It is difficult to keep our attention in one place. We are so distracted. So my intent with this book was to make it very reflective, very simple, easy to read, and easy to take away a few pointers which can be implemented straight off as a leader. So I am
Right.
really glad that you enjoyed, and my wish is for this book to reach enough people so that as leaders they can become more relaxed, calm, and clear in their mind.
It's a must have for the young leaders as well who are just stepping into the leadership roles, and also for the senior leaders who need to change with time. So that brings me to my first question, and curious to know, how did this all start? Like, what inspired you into actually writing something like Leadership Unmasked?
Good question. So I've had a very diverse background in terms of my professional career, moving into different industries, different kinds of roles. But the last decade or so, I have been very focused on as a facilitator, coach, and a client solutions person, working globally with a lot of senior leaders, helping them through hybrid or remote or in-person kind of sessions, long program journeys. And in that process, what I saw was that while as a public persona, the leaders were clearly coming in front of everyone with a polished mask, being very authoritative, very sure of themselves, very confident. But actually, inside themselves, they were struggling to find their own authenticity. They were struggling to become the real me, so to say. And that was something that they could not share with anybody, not even their family or peers or colleagues, actually, because that's an emotional struggle that you are going through. The other thing was that the leaders are expected to always have the answers to everything, and that's practically not possible. So the struggle to express the vulnerability or say genuinely that this is not something that we can share at this point or identify at this point. And we need to remember that last few years there has been an extreme level of uncertainty, political scenarios which were challenging. We've had COVID, we've had all kind of difficult scenarios, wars happening all around us. So all those things have made the entire leadership process not only challenging but also very, very complex.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
in that scenario, the leaders have been struggling to show their vulnerability, trying to keep up that image of stoic confidence at all times. And that, when we see as facilitators, uh, it becomes important for us to address that not just at a group level but also at an individual level with
Yes.
people. So that
Yes.
was the second reason that it was important for me to do something to support those leaders that are struggling with these emotional and felt situations, not just what they thought, but what they felt as leaders. And then finally, I felt that times have changed drastically, especially because the Gen Z and the younger generation that has come into the work field now, it has become important for leaders to understand how to connect with them. The times are different now. I remember seeing a research somewhere which said that the expectation of an employee from a leader is such today, post COVID, that the manager of any employee is impacting the mental health of that employee
Yes.
even more than the spouse or the partner.
True that.
So the expectation is to be seen, to be valued, to be understood. So the connection has become paramount, unlike ever before. So
Absolutely.
those are some of the reasons
Absolutely.
that
Just
led me
today,
to.
I've had my WhatsApp flooding with chats from a coachee of mine who's absolutely in distress because of the politics going on in her office, where there are just blanket statements being made, no clear feedback being given. But she's almost losing her job. She's lost her project already, fearing that she would be fired, and she is clueless. Now, being clueless is something
Mm,
that really holds you, right? You don't know what action to take. How could you even resolve any situation that you are in? And that's really sad. So the stress, as you rightly said, is much more than resolving any family conflict, major or minor, whatever it may be. So you very rightly put it across, even in the cover, very bold. And if you really look at it, it is that leadership wears so many masks, right? And you're trying to
yeah.
help people break free from that because you don't want that to be continuing forever and ever. And just unmasking yourself will feel like liberation, right? And it's important for the leaders also to feel liberated like that, just as much as their liberation from all these all this false world that they are in, all these false habits that they're trying to nurture, will help the teams as well. So that
Yeah.
brings me to my next question. Out of all these myths that you talk about, which one do you think is the major challenge leaders are also facing to let go of in today's time?
Yeah, actually, I mentioned this in your last question when I was answering that I personally feel that the biggest challenge that the leaders are facing is with the myth that they should always keep a professional distance. As a leader, you are sort of above the others, and so you should maintain that position there. And also, I think to some extent, this is impacted by our society, about the way we've been nurtured and the way we have grown, the environments at our home, where we had a certain sense of reverence for our elders. We were always very respectful. We were respectful of authority. We were taught to be respectful to our teachers, to the
Right.
doctors, to the lawyers, anybody who had a position of authority. So we come from a place where, when this generation now becomes leader, they expect that same reverence from the juniors or the team members.
True.
But the practical reality is that the new generation does not view authority the way that this generation was
Yes.
viewing authority.
Yes.
So, if you look at it from that lens, you realize that uh, this world today is craving for connection. There is a deep need to be seen, to be heard, to be valued by their leaders and by their organizations. And while it is understandable that the leaders have a lot to do, they have, they're always dousing fires, there are challenges to be tackled, there are
Yes.
goals to be achieved, there are teams to be herded, typically that is the approach that
True.
people have. And in that scenario, it becomes really important to continue to maintain that connection with the people. And so, to me, the one myth which I find is the biggest challenge today is that as the seniors keep becoming more senior, it becomes more difficult for them to maintain that one to one connection with their team members. And that is really critical.
Right. And in as you pointed out, the changes that have come from the time of COVID, right? We are partly working from home, partly going to office, and then the fine line between how much in office and how much at home, and each one seeking that empathy that, okay, today my situation is like this, I won't come there, let me work from home. So we are
Yeah.
expecting that the goals be met, but however, empathy has to be there, is an approach that the young office goers are having, definitely. So personally for you, I'm sure you have been practicing a lot, and I have been following you on LinkedIn. We see a lot of posts coming from your side, and you've worked a lot in the corporate as a leader yourself. So what was difficult for you to let go of and challenging when you tried to shift from, the old styles to your new styles as you built your own awareness?
Uh, that's a situation very close to my heart because I was a different person a few years back, actually more than a decade back. But at that time, I was a different person, and you can take a guess as to what kind of person I was because my nickname in the organization at that time was Bazooka.
Oh.
So I was often told that you always come all guns blaring. I was angry. I was, wanting to express all my pent up emotions in the form of aggressive anger because I felt it was needed. At that time, I was around 29, 30 years old, and I was heading an organization. I was a member on the board and had a lot of responsibility and accountability. And my understanding of leadership at that point in time as a young girl was that I need to show how aggressive and in
Yeah.
control I am of everything. So I would never ever express my vulnerability in any way. So, the most challenging myth that I had to tackle and work with as my meditation practices deepened and I became more and more mindful, I experienced literally a personality shift, and I became kinder, softer, able to understand other people's perspective. And the biggest change that brought in my leadership is that I learned how to express my vulnerability because that was important for me to connect. I would often hear from my team words like intimidating,
Yes.
unapproachable. Those were the kind of feelings that people had, and that moved over a period of time as I became more open to expressing my emotions and vulnerability with authenticity. That changed more to a leader like a mother. So that
Yeah.
sense of, and that's what I say. Your leadership is defined by what is the felt sense of your team members.
Absolutely.
So that
And
was a
that's where, when, that mother like feeling comes, that's where empathy also shows up. And then, as a mother, you again are not going to spoon feed. Your empathy does not mean sympathy, and that you're just going to take things in your hand and do it for them,
yeah,
but you understand them and you're supporting their needs and enabling them to be working better. So that's the spirit
yeah,
that has come out. And I'm so glad I asked you this question, because here's an example in real life which you are stating that this shift is possible. Because often I come across people who are taking all the learnings, but at the end of it, it's like such a resistance that these are old habits. How can we get over? I have always been like that. My father was also like that. So, they almost tend to think that these are inherited skills, and I cannot change. So, or there are patterns which they have observed, and I often hear this also कि रश्मि ठीक है आप सिखाओ जो सिखाना है पर कॉर्पोरेट में ऐसे नहीं होता. So it's a barrier that the change can't happen. A huge resistance
yeah,
in trying to practice it and be vulnerable. And your
yeah.
example is just actually shaking that belief, right? So thank you so much for sharing your journey here. So there are a couple of lines from your book. I'm going to go to that, which stayed with me, and I truly, truly have underlined that and let it sink in for myself. You
Sure.
say, letting go is not a weakness, and it's a leadership superpower, and that really hits hard because, especially for those leaders who have been taught that control equals strength, isn't it? So
Yeah,
letting go is something which is not easy. And over the next few chapters, also, you go deeper talking about how if we don't evolve, we can become irrelevant, right? So can
yeah,
you throw a little light on this, that what does letting go to lead forward really look like in action?
yeah. Uh, so what happens is that as we go up the ladder, the ego becomes stronger. As leaders, as more seniority is gained, we operate more from a deeper sense of I, because the mind believes that I have been able to achieve this position because I was strong with whatever opinions, abilities, skills, talent I have put into motion. And stronger becomes your cognitive rigidity. You have a set way of looking at things, you have a certain perspective which you strongly believe in, and rightly so. Nothing wrong with that. It is important to have a good sense of ego, because that's my sense of I. That's where I come from, that's where I gain my sense of confidence, my sense of worth. So it's critical. But what that does to us is that it makes us operate from our subconscious mind. We go back to our patterns and triggers again and again. And the more, as you are, I'm sure, aware, neuroscience says that 99% of our decisions are driven by our subconscious mind and not by our conscious mind. So, one of the struggles of leadership is to increase or expand that 1% and become more and more conscious in how you are showing up, what is your projection, how you are taking decisions, how are you impacting the people who are working with you, and so on. So, to become conscious like that and let go of the cognitive rigidity, you have to bring down your ego mind and become more compassionate. Now, that's a tricky road, because compassion and empathy are often confused as one word, but empathy is about understanding people, and compassion is an intention to do something to help them. So, when you move into that space, you are okay to let go and not try to control people. You start to, instead of controlling, you start co creating.
You're
You
right.
create a platform, there is enough psychological safety for everyone to share their perception. So you get the best of the world, because now you have multiple perspectives. And so that is also about inclusion in ways, because now you are allowing all voices to show up, and you are now able to take decisions which are expanded in terms of knowledge, ability, and skill, and not just dependent on you as the leader. So
Right.
that's where the letting go comes.
Yeah.
So when I talk about becoming irrelevant, that's because, um, like it or not, AI is becoming stronger as a tool in working scenarios. And for example, giving feedback to your team members. The research says that 45% of the time people are happy to receive positive feedback from AI instead of their leader, as long as there is enough data to support that feedback. So if even performance management and feedback and interactions are going to be held by AI, then that's where the question of becoming irrelevant is coming from. Where where is the difference between AI and us as leaders? It is in being human. It is in having emotions. It is in being able to emotionally connect and understand and have that empathy and compassion. So AI can mirror, but it cannot genuinely understand and express in return. So these are skills that we have, which we need to hone as leaders if we want to move into the next era or the next phase of human life, as machines and AI become more important.
Right, right. And I was just mentioning, I love how you blend neuroscience and make everything so understandable to the mind in your book throughout every chapter, right? Now, I one thought runs to my mind is that every individual need not be on the same state of awareness, right? Everyone has not come
Yeah.
across literature like this, met people like you, and have this kind of shift in the mindset. So, how does this go about now? Imagine a scenario where there are few individuals in the organization who are aware and are ready for the shift, but others are not. Maybe some seniors are not. So
Yeah.
where does it all start then? Because they may try, but their new strategies may not be welcomed, and then there could be resistance. So I'm curious to know whether you faced any resistance when you try to adapt to new styles, and uh, anything that you can guide, because this is a question that is on people's mind, people who are aware, listening to podcasts like this, keeping themselves updated and trying to be the change.
Yes, absolutely. We, as facilitators, when you talk about human leadership, when you talk about mindfulness and these elements associated to emotional intelligence, there is a lot of pushback. There are hardcore leaders who have been successful and
Yeah.
leading a certain way and refuse to um, soften up. Let me use that expression. They refuse to soften up because they think that is not the best way to lead, since their way has been successful all along. I'll share an interesting example here. We were working with a technical company in Bangalore, and a senior leader. So we were doing a step away from the line exercise with them, trying to understand what is the level of self care that they have, because
Hmm.
self care is very important
Very
for leaders.
important.
You
True.
can't pour into another cup unless yours is full,
For,
right?
true.
So in that exercise, we asked a question. So, do you make sure that you have breakfast every morning before you come to work? And he stepped away, and then he said, a lot of people stepped away, and he stepped away as well. And then he said, I don't have breakfast in the morning, but that's my choice because reaching work at a certain time and starting work is way more critical than having breakfast or wasting my time doing little other things. And I expect the same from my people. I don't care whether you had your breakfast or not. Are you here in time to do the work or not? That's all that matters to
Right.
me.
Right.
So this is a mindset that we have developed over a period of time. Now, reaching in time, being disciplined, being punctual, doing your X number of hours of work to make sure that you are able to take care of your goals and purposes is all definitely important and critical. But this is the time of both hand leadership. This is the
Yes.
time to find the right balance between
Equity over
your
equality, as we say, right?
exactly. Are you emphasizing on numbers, being data driven, looking at the goals, looking at the profit, looking at the bottom line? Are you being very people oriented? Are you looking after people's well being, caring for them, making sure that they are feeling psychologically safe? There is a trust in the team. You can't be doing either one. If you
Yeah.
start to do a lot of people initiatives and put your focus entirely there, then you are sort of naive as a leader. And similarly, I remember a quote by Arne Sorensen where he said, if I was to empathize and understand and look after each and every individual's each and every need, I will never be able to take business decisions and move things forward.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
to find the right balance is critical to success today. So you are right, we do face this kind of resistance, but what we do in this scenario is a lot of simple small exercises which clearly showcase. So it's not about the spoken word only, they will showcase what happens.
Hmm.
To give you an example, and this was an exercise that I did a lot when I was a part of potential project, and there was an entire module on focus, because focus is really critical to success for leaders. But we are very distracted, and we believe in multitasking now.
Yes.
Why is it hard for us to read a full book today and everybody's looking for bite-sized information at all time? Is because we've lost our ability to manage our attention.
Right.
So today, between two senior leaders, the more successful is the one who is able to manage their time and their ability for sharp, focused attention better. So we do an exercise where we simply ask them to write a few alphabets, and then on the second line write a few numbers, and then we ask them to alternate between the letter and the number as they do it. And very clearly, the time taken is two times as much. The time taken is double, the quality is reduced to half, and so what is the gain? And research shows that absolutely nothing is to be achieved by multitasking. Nevertheless, everyone everywhere thinks that if we multitask, we'll be able to finish the work faster or do it better like that.
Yes. Yes.
So this kind of myths that are settled in people's mind, we do little exercises, show them the neuroscience, show them the way our mind works, share with them data and research that has been published in different places. So while people have a sense that all of this is very touchy feely, the truth is we don't have robots at work, we have humans.
Correct.
They are touchy feely. Each one of them comes with their emotions, comes with a baggage of whatever is going on in their lives. And if, as a leader, you think that you can make them throw everything outside the door and enter the office, that's practically never going to happen. And also, as a leader, this is true for me if I'm the leader. I'm also coming with my emotions. If
True.
I'm angry, I'm going to express that with my team as well. So it is important for us as leaders not just to recognize emotions in ourselves and others, but also to regulate them.
Yes, and it then
So,
starts with the openness of being okay with probably apologizing, saying that you were not in a good space and you just ended up doing that. That's where those small tasks is what you mentioned, right? You start small, do those little things and get people to become aware that this is okay. And then you go for the major shifts. So, coming to organizations understanding whether they're moving in the right direction, okay? Uh, is there any way they could track this? Because, say, a leader takes an initiative, does facilitation training programs, and gets everyone to become aware of these things and starts trying to implement, but what is that metrics, what is that indicator by which they understand that is everybody practicing it, are they going in the right direction, are they heading towards their goals also, or is it causing disruption? So these are the fears that they have while they adopt such practices and change the ways of working. So what's the track that they can keep over such things so that the goals are also being met and the employee needs are being taken care of and the shift is
yeah.
actually working positively? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, organizations today are fairly aware of the need to create the connections, to deepen the engagement. So, most organizations will have certain pulse survey kind of things where they are trying to understand the mood of the teams, they are trying to understand how um, comfortable they are, how engaged they are, what is the level of psychological safety that they are experiencing. So there are multiple assessments and research that the organization will conduct with their teams, which gives them a sense of where people are. But beyond a point, you cannot put a number to emotions, to the regulation of emotions, to the level of psychological safety, genuinely, the vulnerability that people are willing to express, the ability to, so this is again a very important topic, the ability to accept failure, the ability to learn from the failure and move forward as an organization instead of there being finger pointing or blame and so on. So, all of these factors are very hard to convert into numbers. Having said that, while there are no metrics for things like this, you can get a sense by putting together the right kind of assessments for how aware people are, self aware people are, how much they understand their own mind, their own triggers and patterns, by
Yeah,
understanding what is their level of empathy and kindness for their team members. Do the team members feel cared for and valued? Do they feel
yes,
psychologically safe in the environment to be vulnerable, to share what they are going through? By understanding what is the level of that balance that we were talking about, how wise is the leader?
true.
Are the leaders able to balance, for example, between people and goals, balance between being optimistic and being realistic, balance between ensuring a very performance oriented culture, but at the same time ensuring that there is care and compassion in the environment. So giving strong feedback, to provoke and to challenge people to their best behavior, but at the same time make sure that you're taking care of people and valuing them enough that they are able to perform to their best ability. So how to find that balance? So these are the things which will slowly and steadily start to build in a way that you will start to experience a shift in the culture of the organization as
Right.
the leaders
Right.
change. That I feel is the best way for organizations to understand that the impact has been made.
Yes. And from a facilitator, trainer perspective, I think a continuous evaluation is more effective in such cases rather than one time
Yeah,
trainings, where the room is very conducive for people to share what they actually feel, and it's a very safe
yeah,
zone. They're ready to be vulnerable at such places, and the facilitator can definitely encourage those kind of conversations which are otherwise not encouraged. And this practice, as it goes on further, we can definitely see a lot of positive growth. So for now, we need to propagate the book a lot, because when this reaches a
yeah.
lot more hands, well, you have one too, yes. So we definitely look forward to more people knowing about all these myths, because every time you get to understand, oh, this is something I was practicing all the while and this needed to change and I had not realized that. That's that bulb on moment from where the shift begins. So being aware is the first step, and for awareness about all of these aspects, uh, it requires an eye opener like this, because it is difficult to be aware about everything. I may be aware about a couple of things that I do and don't work because that's what my experience says, but there could be so many other things that I am building upon, and eventually one day when the experience is there or a situation is there, that's the time when it would create an obstacle in my progress. So the awareness of all of these coming at one go is very very important, because it makes me more of a proactive leader rather than a reactive, right? Why wait for that situation and then change habits? You prepare yourself in advance, and that's going to be
Absolutely.
very crucial for the times we are in right now. So good. Loving this discussion. And before we go further, I must ask you something that just strikes my mind, that if you had to attribute music to this, right? Some song, something that comes to your mind that actually resonates with these ideas, what would it be?
Hmm, that's an interesting question. Hmm. Let me think about that
You
one.
were answering, like such a pro for all of these questions. I had to give you one tough one.
That's really a tough
That really
one.
makes you think.
There is a song from this movie Rockstar,
Okay.
which says "Nadan parinde ghar aaja."
Hmm.
So this is like this book is meant to bring the leader home again to
Yes.
their true self.
Yes.
So what is happening is that as leaders they are creating a projection which matches the society's expectation, the organization's expectation, their team
Right.
members expectation. So that is how we have become so wedded to these myths that it is
Mm-hmm.
hard to find our true self when we lead. So that
Right.
song, I think, nicely projects that sense of coming back to your humanity, who you are.
Right. Interesting. And tell me, if you had to gift this book to somebody, think of any
Hmm.
celebrity, any star, anyone, or any mentor, who would you name today, and why?
So, if I wanted to reward someone for being a champion leader who has broken all their myths and shown up as their authentic self, then perhaps I will give this to Satya Nadella.
Okay.
And if I wanted to help a leader who's really stuck with all of these myths and not able to find their path as a human leader, then perhaps I will gift it to Elon Musk.
So we have not one gift, we
And
have two.
due respect to everybody,
And I wouldn't mind a signed copy as well.
absolutely, yours
Yes,
one.
yes, yes. So, Marut, this has been such an enriching conversation. I'm sure viewers have got many takeaways, something that has, given them some food for thought to take some action. And thank you for showing us this vulnerability as well as your vision. Uh, what exactly can we do to get this across to more people? What is your vision?
Yeah, I am really wishful, hopeful that enough number of leaders will get to read this book. The trouble with the book is that there are so many new books, so much knowledge, so much information everywhere on the internet and everywhere that it becomes lost after a while. So I encourage everyone who's watching this podcast to please go to Amazon and look for the book called Leadership Unmasked. It is readily available on Amazon in India and in multiple other countries, US, UK, Australia, everywhere. And you can also refer to my website, marutbhardwaj.com, to find some excerpts, some tools, and some interesting nuggets of information related to the book. Also, you will find all the links there, and from there, you can reach the book. And I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing little pieces of the book and the learnings and associated newsletters and other ways of reaching out. So I would love to connect with more of the readers of Booknerd and your network, Rashmi. So I am really grateful to get this opportunity to be able to reach more people with
I'm
my
sure today you're
message.
going to be flooded with connection requests. So
Looking
linkedin
forward.
linkedin is the place, guys. So definitely do connect with Marut, and we'll be very happy to network there, share ideas, and keep getting inspired. So to everybody listening to us, just remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers, as she rightly puts it across very emphatically. It's about having the courage, right? And with this, any closing thoughts, Marut, that's on your mind and you want to share before we wrap up?
Thank you very much for these questions, Rashmi. Very pointed and very spot on in the sense of bringing out all the learnings that the book has. My effort has been to cause a deep reflection in each leader who reads it, to question the way they are leading. And my only one thought that I would like to share with everyone is it's all about balance. When a leader learns to balance between performance and care, that is when they become the most revered leader of all.
Thank you for those closing thoughts. It's really a must, know for all of us, and that's a path which we definitely need to walk. And books are something that keep inspiring us, showing us the way. You have a lot of books as well, Marut. So before we wrap up, and I know I'm trying to wrap up for a while, but those questions keep popping up for me. So there are so many books back in at your side. So which books would you recommend? Anything on your mind that is a must read for people?
Sure. This journey for me started when I joined Potential Project as a facilitator, and Rasmus Hugart, who is the managing director and founder of Potential Project, has been a mentor. He has authored two books with HBR, which have inspired me greatly, and I would like to share with our readers those two books, and they would be lovely as an add-on to Leadership Unmasked, of course. The first one is The Mind of the Leader, and that's that is the best way to turn inward and understand yourself, how you can read your own mind, understand the neuroscience behind how you're taking decisions and how you're showing up. And the second book that he has written, which again is deeply aligned with my thinking, is More Human, and this is a more recent book. This is about how to be more human in the age of AI.
Hmm.
So, how will the human elements help us to um, lead better in the AI age? So, these are the two books I would like to recommend.
Right. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of readers now joining us as well. And to my audience as well as yours, this has definitely been quite an enriching conversation. I'm sure they're going to thank you for this for a real long time, and that's going to show in the messages that pop up. So, everybody, stay open to evolving and keep growing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, Marut,
Thank you,
and thanks to
Rashmi. Thank
all
you
our
for the
lovely
opportunity.
audience
Thank
who
you.
are here with us through this podcast. Thank you.